It's been 1 year to the date since I first purchased Bitcoin, which was back in December 19th, 2020. And today, as of me filming this, is December 18th, 2020. So it's been a full 365 days since I first purchased Bitcoin. And in today's video, I want to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of why I still have my Bitcoin and why I didn't sell during the whole mania, because the price of Bitcoin when I first bought it was around $23,000, and since then it has gone all the way up to $69,000 and then back down to around a resting $46,000 as of me filming this. A lot of the people that have purchased Bitcoin around the same time that I did have since taken their profits and ran with it, but in this video I'm going to give you my reasons for not selling as well as what I've learned along the way, and I want to share it with all of you guys here today. Now, as you can see in this article from Yahoo Finance, 90% of all of the Bitcoin that's ever going to exist has already been mined, but the price of Bitcoin has continued to dip. And I'm not going to lie, my portfolio is down. It's down 20% over the past 30 days, essentially. I'm not too worried about this because when I first purchased Bitcoin, I went into this investment for the long haul. I went into it knowing that I was going to be planning on keeping it for a long time, for years, possibly even decades, depending on the future of what happens with Bitcoin, which I'm going to get into right now. Now, because 90% of the Bitcoin has already been mined, and it's going to take an additional 120 years to mine the final 10%, that means that in the coming decades, Bitcoin is going to be more and more scarce. There's going to be less incentive for miners to mine it because it will become more difficult to mine, and the reward will be reduced by half every 4 years, which is significant, and it's a pretty big deterrent for people to want to mine Bitcoin. However, that is unless the value keeps going up. And the law of supply and demand will tell you that the more scarce an item is, then the more valuable it becomes. And that's kind of how I see Bitcoin becoming in the future. Now, I believe after watching the price of Bitcoin ebb and flow over the past year, that a lot of the short-term gains have already been made, meaning that people like me that bought it around the $20,000 mark or $30,000 mark have already taken their profits and are maybe waiting for the prices to come back down to around that price range to go ahead and reinvest, and in the meantime just sitting, waiting, and watching. However, I look at Bitcoin more as a long-term investment, and some of the uses I see potentially for Bitcoin in the future could be things like buying big ticket items such as real estate, buying a house, buying land with it, possibly buying a business, worth several $100,000, possibly even millions, or buying a car, something like that. I think that Bitcoin has a lot of potential when it comes to big ticket items. I don't see anybody ever going to the grocery store and using it to buy their groceries or just everyday items like we use our currency for now. But also, I just see it very similar to gold in the sense that it's a way to store your wealth, because that's what gold does. When you invest your money in gold, you're going to be able to retain the value of your purchasing power relative to the amount that you invested. Whereas if you were to save all of your money in dollars, especially with the record inflation that we've been seeing lately, if you just hang on to your cash in 20 years, you're essentially going to be broke, because even though you have the same amount of money, your purchasing power has been wiped out. And I see Bitcoin being a good hedge against that as well. Now let's get into the part of the video where I give you my lessons that I learned after purchasing Bitcoin that might be valuable to you, especially if you're looking at buying Bitcoin now or in the near future. These things are really going to help you. Now, one of the most important things to start with here is getting your own cryptocurrency hardware wallet. In this case, I have the Ledger Nano S. They also sell the Ledger Nano X, which the main difference between the two is that if you are going to be wanting to be buying and selling multiple different cryptocurrencies, like say 30 or 40 different ones, you're going to want the Ledger Nano X. In my case, I'm fine with having the Nano S because this wallet only supports 3 different types of currencies at a time, and I only own Ethereum and Bitcoin, so I'm not too worried about the wallet supporting more currencies than that. And if you are looking at getting one of these Ledger wallets for yourself, please consider using my affiliate link located in the description of this video. Now, if you're new to crypto, you're probably wondering why you would even want to get one of these wallets to begin with when they have all these different sites like Coinbase, for example. That's where I bought my Bitcoin to begin with. And you can just store all of your Bitcoin there without ever getting into all the complications of having your own wallet. Well, the answer to this question is quite simple. Crypto exchanges can be hacked. And if they are hacked or for some reason it does go down, your Bitcoin or your whatever type of crypto you're invested in will be gone forever. Versus if you have your own wallet, then nobody can take that crypto away from you. You need to have your own personal passphrase in order to transfer that crypto to anyone, and it's stored right on your hardware device, and that's why they call it a hardware wallet, because you actually are not storing it on the internet, you're not storing it with an exchange, you're storing it on your device, and that's the big most important difference between the two. So the first lesson is that you need your own hardware wallet if you're going to be serious about holding on to your crypto for a long time. The second lesson, and this might be my opinion, but I think it's also fact, and that is that no other coins are worth anything besides Bitcoin. I know that's a bold statement to say, but basically the logic behind that is this. Only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be in existence. That's built into the programming of Bitcoin. No one can manipulate that, okay? Supply and demand are the biggest thing when it comes to how valuable something is, like we said earlier in the video, right? With other types of coins, then the creator of those coins could easily manipulate the supply of those different types of cryptos that are out there. And so basically it can't be trusted, just like the US dollar. And just like the Federal Reserve can print more money, the owners of those coins or the creators of those coins could easily make more anytime that they want to, which can devalue the coins that you're holding. And with Bitcoin, that's just not possible. The next couple points I want to cover are directly related to using your Ledger Nano wallet. Even if you're tech savvy, it can be very difficult to kind of set all this up to begin with. I mean, even for somebody like me, you know, I can build my own website, I can make my own YouTube videos, edit them in Final Cut Pro, all these things. But when I first turned on the Ledger software, I have to say I was quite confused. I really didn't know what to do. However, they do a pretty good job of walking you through the setup process when it comes to getting your wallet all set up and storing your crypto and transferring it to your wallet. But I gotta say, it is not an easy process, and the first time I did it, it took me well over an hour and a half just to make sure you're doing everything correctly, because you hear these horror stories about people losing their key phrases and then they're never going to be able to access their Bitcoin again and things like that. And I didn't want that to happen to me. So just keep in mind that even if you are tech savvy, then it can be quite intimidating setting one of these up for the very first time. But with a little bit of patience, you'll get through it. Just make sure you are paying attention to every single step along the way and doing it correctly. Your PIN and your key phrase are not the same thing. Your PIN is basically a 4 to 8 digit number that you put in just like you would with your ATM debit card or something like that, just to be able to access the info on your ledger. Whereas the key phrase is basically a recovery phase. This is a set of 24 words that you'll get while setting it up, and it's very important to write all of these words down. It will come with some cards in the box for you to write down some copies of your key phrase, and this is the most important thing when it comes to using your hardware wallet. If you ever lose these 24 words, you will never be able to recover any of the crypto stored on your wallet, and it will just be lost forever. This has happened to some people in the past, and this is the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind if you're going to be storing it yourself. And it's one of the reasons why people get scared and often don't use their own wallet and just keep it on a site like Coinbase. But you just got to be responsible here, guys. The only thing is, I can't really offer any advice when it comes to where you should store this, because in my personal opinion, there's really no safe spot to store it. I mean, you store it in your sock drawer, it could get lost. Or maybe your place burns down and then it's gone forever. Or if you take a picture of it and it's on your cell phone and your phone gets hacked, somebody could have access to that. So it's kind of difficult to figure out where you should keep this information, but just try to keep it in the safest place that you think it's going to be able to be kept. And since you have 3 of them that come in the box, maybe spread them out in different areas in case one gets lost or destroyed or whatever. At least you still have it somewhere else, or just write it down somewhere where you know it's never going to get lost, and preferably store it in some sort of safe. Another interesting thing I've learned since purchasing Bitcoin and about crypto in general is that there are these platforms now like Gemini.com and BlockFi.com that you can actually store some or all of your crypto there, and then in return earn a pretty substantial interest rate on your crypto, similarly if you were going to be putting cash in a bank. But that's the biggest difference. This is not a bank and it is a bit of a risk. So I haven't tried this yet, but I'm interested in trying it with at least a little bit of money. Maybe I will start with some cash first and just see how it goes. And I don't know, if you guys want to see a video on that, let me know. Now, if you just take one thing away from this video, I hope that it's this. If you do decide to purchase Bitcoin in the near future and you're new to this, one thing that you must not do is don't panic sell. Treat it just like any other long-term investment. If you see the price going down, don't get scared and dump it, because if you look at the history of Bitcoin, the price has been extremely volatile since its inception, and I expect that to continue going forward, but you just have to look at it as a long-term investment. The only exception here might be if you're looking to trade it and make a lot of short-term gains, but the reason I don't do that is because I don't want to pay capital gains taxes on these short-term gains, and it's just too much effort for me to be buying and selling at different prices. I'm just not interested in that. I'd rather put my efforts here on YouTube. You also want to keep your firmware updated from time to time. I haven't plugged in my ledger since I first bought my Bitcoin, and my firmware was out of date, so I had to take a few minutes to go ahead and update all of it. And you want to do this from time to time just to make sure that your wallet is as secure as possible, just to make sure you have the latest security updates. Now, if you found this video interesting, then check out my original video right over here when I first bought the Bitcoin, and you can see exactly why I bought it back then and what that process was like, and I'll see you guys over there.